Hey everyone, it's JG here with Earth 5D University, back for another teaching where you are the light, the path, and the way, friends. I hope you're doing amazing today. I'm so happy you're here. So today, my friends, I wanted to talk about fear, a four-letter F word that really isn't a swear word, right? But in spiritual communities, I feel like talking about fear is taboo. Like, oh my God, don't talk about fear, right? So let's dive into this topic about fear and how actually facing your fear and those less desirable emotions actually helps you free yourself from them. And whereas a lot of spiritual teachers out there and a lot of the woke movement, a lot of the manifestation movement and law of attraction movement is teaching you to sort of deny those things. Like, no, do not focus on fear. Do not focus on the shadow sides of yourself, because if you do, those issues will grow. But it's been my experience for nearly 2 decades of learning that that is exactly the opposite. That when you bury things, much like a pimple or like something buried under your skin that needs to get out, unless you address it, unless you face it, it will fester and it will grow. So let's get into the teaching today. When we are learning about ourselves, which is the true essence of enlightenment, is to know thyself. That very simple phrase points to something so much bigger, right? So it is in these simple phrases that we unearth like these huge spiritual lessons, okay? And so when we say know thyself, what we're really saying is to learn the aspects of our unconscious mind, to learn the aspects of what we don't readily see or perceive with our inside of ourselves, so that we can transmute that darkness into gold or light enlightenment. So taking the heavier lead, could use that metaphor of alchemy, taking the lead and turning it to gold. So we're taking heavier energies within the self and we're transmuting it to light. How do we do that? We do that by focusing in on it, by acknowledging it. We must acknowledge the things that are distressful for us in order to release it. When we try to bury it by overriding positive emotions over it, then we miss the opportunity to free ourselves. And many people live life with fear and pain, just like one scratch below the surface. And their life is has a lot of suffering. And the reason why is because they do not know themselves. And so they have a lot of trouble and difficulty aligning to their joy. They have a lot of difficulty aligning to what they like because they don't know what they like. There's a false perception of what we have to like, who we have to be. There's a overlay of having to be a certain way to fit in and just survive, friends, to survive. But just like in Star Wars, every Jedi in the movie faces their shadow side. You know, they go into the dark cave, which is the metaphor for them facing their shadow self. Those are their fears. And each movie is a really good representation of like what happens when you face your fear, right? You just look at it and you feel it and you acknowledge that it's there. And by doing that, it no longer has a charge and an authority over you, because you're no longer shoving it down below the surface. You're like, fine, I'm gonna look at this. So it could be a fear of anything. It could be fear of death. It could be a fear of exposing yourself or sharing yourself or making yourself vulnerable. It could be a fear of like spiders. It could be a fear of strangers. It could be a fear of anything, the unknown. All of that stuff, when you acknowledge it and you bring it out in the light, it has the ability to change and lose its grip on you. And much like an abscess, like sometimes we get a piece of an acne is a really good example. Like sometimes we get a pimple or a piece of dirt or bacteria under our skin, and that if we don't release that and like let it come out and see the light of day, and like literally, it's painful, right? Sometimes we have to squeeze it out or cut it out. If we don't get that bacteria and pus out from under the skin, I know it sounds gross, then it festers and it grows until it becomes extremely painful. And so in manifestation, it's very important, in order to create a life that you love and to know yourself, to allow your fears to come to the surface and share them with yourself and with people you trust. And if there isn't anyone you trust to share your fears with, all you have to do is tell it to you and the universe, because the universe hears everything that you say and believe and is constantly responding to you. So to say, I am happy, I am happy, I am happy, or I love spiders, or I love traveling long distances, when you're actually afraid to travel, it's like just treating the symptoms of a wound that is much deeper. And so we must go to the shadow self, the shadow part of ourselves, in order to release us from the undesirable aspects that we want to be free of in this lifetime. Every single human being has fears, right? It's part of our survival. It's part of our nervous system. And there's nothing shameful or weird. It does not make you less spiritual to tune into what frightens you and to freaking share it with yourself, because it's in that honesty of knowing yourself that you become extremely powerful. The negative, dark, shadow aspects lose their power and control over you when you're able to see what you are, see what you aren't, see what you're afraid of, and release yourself from it. Acknowledging those fears releases you from them, and you are free. Okay, then you become free. So there's a quote by Carl Jung that I wanted to read you, and it's sort of like a summary of what I'm talking about here. And it says that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. One becomes enlightened by making the darkness conscious, by knowing the less desirable aspects of yourself, which is fear that there's so much judgment, right? That we aren't righteous, we aren't good enough, we are lowly people, right? And like none of that in all of my years on this earth, none of that rings true. None of that is what I believe is the actual facts. The fact is that we are deeply loved and we are right. We are very righteous. What we want and what we desire is right for us. You know? It's part of what you're learning. It's part of who you are here, is to allow yourself to those desires. And it's by really saying, God, source energy, Buddha, Muhammad, Jesus, whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, higher self, show me what I am afraid of. I want and desire this thing. What is going on inside of me that's making me terrified of having this? What is blocking me from having this? And then look at your fears and become free of them, and just tell the universe, I see this. I see my fear, and I do not want it to have a hold on me anymore. I am willing to see it and have the courage to see that and release it from my being. And that, my friends, is alchemy, right? That is the journey from darkness to light. And so You don't need to trick the universe. You can't. How can you trick the universe? You know, you are a vibration. There's no tricking anything. You are emitting signals, and those signals are the truth. I always say to my kids, I've had an awareness of this since I was like very, very young, is like everything's seen by the universe. There's nothing hidden behind closed doors because the universe sees everything, right? And so nothing's hidden. So you might as well just be real about it and know yourself. Look at the things you're afraid of. Look at your addictions. Look at your shadowy aspects of self that you don't like, that are undesirable, and bring them to the surface. Say, yes, I am this. So no matter what you have to face, right? Like in this situation, I feel super angry. Or in this situation, I feel jealous. Or in this situation, I don't like the way I act. I'm super triggered, right? Whatever that is about yourself, it's okay to see it. Because as you know it and as you see it, you release it and you overcome it. It's the exact opposite of pretending it isn't there. Pretending that fear and pain and suffering or sadness isn't there only makes it raise to the surface so it can be addressed by your own consciousness. It's looking to be released by acknowledgement. So don't be afraid of your shadow self, friends. That's my message. Please allow your fears to surface, because as you allow yourself to face your fears, and as we all face our fears as a species, then we'll no longer be beholden to our fears. We'll no longer be a puppet on a string, being pulled by our fears. It will release us, because guess what? We're no longer afraid. Because we already looked at it. We're already saying, hello, fear. I see you. Hello, fear. And as human beings do this, can you imagine when we all have the courage to look at who in the heck we are? Then all the dark forces behind the scenes has like no bribery or trickery to hold on to us, because we'll just look at it. We're just fine. Just show me. I'm not as scared of what I've done. I'm not scared of who I am. I'm not scared anymore. And that, my friends, has huge power. So that is my message to you today. Friends, if you need a reading, if you need your coaching, please check out my website. I also have meditations. They're all here to help you to change your inner world and truly live from your place of light and love and freedom and power, so that you can be free. So that you can be free. All right, friends, so much love and light.